Amidst the landscape of greedy game publishers, there are still a few out there who strive to respect the art of games and the consumers that they represent. Among this dying breed is a little studio you might know as Digital Extremes, creators of the free-to-play online multiplayer title Warframe. This is a game that's been praised for not only its continuously improving gameplay and ever-expanding content, but also for actually meaning it when they say that the game is free to play. The core game requires $0 in investment to experience from beginning to end and beyond, and what microtransactions there are in the game are relegated to upfront cosmetic purchases where players know exactly what they're getting. Not to mention that it's possible to trade valuable items you earn in-game for premium currency with other players, so those who put the effort in still have an avenue to unlock the premium cosmetics without spending a penny. It's arguably one of the most consumer-friendly free-to-play games out there right now, to the point where people pay for cosmetic microtransactions, not necessarily because they feel like they're being forced to do so, but because they want to in support of the developers. Now, just when I thought I had heard everything about Warframe's consumer practices, YouTuber NoClip presented a Warframe documentary that provided a deeper insight into Digital Extremes' principles. There is one particular segment during which the man responsible for Warframe's monetization scheme, Sheldon Carter, talked about how there was a time in which they had to remove a microtransaction system because they found that one person was using it too much and spending too much money on it. I know, sounds crazy, right? Here's the clip in question.
One of the areas where the team needed to try a lot was the game's economy. The challenge of creating real-world payment shortcuts for the loot grind fell on the shoulders of Sheldon Carter, and it's a responsibility he doesn't take lightly.
The guiding tenet is try not to push them so that they're gonna, grind their face off to get something, but also give them enough variance so that getting those resources is interesting. Despite best intentions, there's always something where we need our community to tell us, hey, this is too hard. We had things with Kavats, one of the pets that came out. It was, too many scans. You had to scan wild Kavats in order to have enough scans in order to incubate a new baby Kavat. And it was just feedback from the community. They're like, hey, this is taking me, is this what you wanted? Did you want us to spend 2 weeks on this? No, that's not what we wanted. We wanted you to do it. We want you to have to use the systems we have, but we don't want you to, spend forever. When we first designed Kubros, or myself, when I first came up with the Kubro idea, we wanted people to be able to change the fur pattern and colors. So we had a lever, basically, for all intents and purposes. It was a button you could push and it'd be like, oh, if you want to pay, I can't remember what it was, so much platinum, you can change the color. And then you could you could take an imprint of that and you could trade it to someone else. So it wasn't, we're trying to give you a way to you could get something cool and then you could give it to your friends. And we saw, a guy pulled the lever 200 times. And it's just oh my dear God, what have we done? We've made, we've created a slot machine. Right. And so, it was a couple days. I think it took us to take it out, a day and a half. That one is a big regret. Obviously that was insanely profitable for someone to be doing that, but that's not what our design intent, and that's not what the intent of the game is. So that's why it was, that's why we changed it. When you're dealing with something that does have a kind of a cash component, you have to really be careful. Of course that would be cool in a game where there was none of that, where you were just, putting in earned money into it, but as soon as you put it as a premium currency and people can just go, oh, what can I get? Oh, I got the gold one. Amazing. How much could I sell that to other people for? And you're like, oh God, can't do that.
Well, that sure as hell was refreshing to hear, wasn't it? If this were any other company like EA, it's safe to say that they would have gladly kept the system running after showing such results. They wouldn't look at the guy pulling the lever 200 times and making them tons of money as, what have we done? This is totally not healthy for players. We have to get rid of this. They would see it as, yes, this is making us a ton of money, so let's keep it in spite of the negative influence it's having on players. That's what EA did all these years before they flew too close to the sun with Battlefront 2. That's what similar publishers have been doing for a long time after they realized how financially lucrative glorified gambling systems can be when underhandedly implemented. Digital Extremes, on the other hand, had the decency to recognize for themselves that something they implemented was morally wrong and pull it immediately. That's not to say that Warframe's ride has been perfect. There were a few incidents where the community reacted negatively to the way Warframe monetized certain aspects, but more often than not, the folks over at Digital Extremes were quick to respond, quick to recognize their mistake, and quick to ask the community how they would like to see something change to be less insidious. This close-knit relationship with the community is what's been keeping the free-to-play Warframe afloat all this time. It's what has earned the game its current reputation as the de facto way of handling free-to-play games. It's their commitment towards striking a balance between giving players the best free game possible, while still being able to make the money they need to stay afloat or pursue future ventures, that has everyone speaking so highly of Digital Extremes and Warframe. I also love that Sheldon called the mechanic out for what it is, a slot machine. He didn't try to dilute what they did by giving it a fancy name, he just flat out said we basically built a slot machine so we got rid of it. The fact of the matter is that whereas other companies are reactionary in their recognition of predatory practices, Digital Extremes are proactive about it. When they recognize that a monetization system is too much, they determine for themselves that while it would make them a lot of money, it's just not the right thing to do. And even when they miss that a system might have been too skewed towards monetization after they're implemented, they tend to be quick about recognizing feedback and making adjustments accordingly to ensure that the game still feels like it is free to play and not free to spend. When you've got smaller companies like Digital Extremes handling their games with such integrity, one has to wonder what the excuse is for the likes of EA, Ubisoft, Activision, Take-Two, you name it. Well, we don't really have to wonder, whereas Warframe aims to strike a fair balance between player experience and monetization, for those other companies, making enough money just isn't enough. They have to make all the money in the world by whatever means necessary. The Battlefront 2 fiasco did shake up the landscape though, so we'll see how the more notorious game publishers proceed from here. But whereas these guys will always be viewed with an air of suspicion and apprehension, Digital Extremes will always be seen as a game developer that can be trusted so long as they continue to value and respect their consumers, especially when you hear stories like how they pulled microtransactions mechanisms because someone used them too much and they saw how unhealthy that was. That kind of story is just rare these days because more game publishers and developers seem to be losing sight of what gaming is all about. Anyway, these are just one man's perspective. I would love to hear what your take is on all of this in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon. It is completely optional, but donating even as little as $1 a month will go a long way in helping this channel grow. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Yong Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out.